I'd like to review surface area, and so we're going to do a couple problems off of the worksheet from yesterday on surface area and volume practice. Hopefully volume makes sense to you. But what we have here is number 1, surface area on the surface area side. And what we're looking at here is a rectangular prism. Now, one way we can do this is to create a net. So what I'm going to do is I am going to try to highlight here what I'm talking about. So let's look at this front face here, that rectangle. And I'm going to draw a really rough picture of it over here. Now if I look at this rectangle, it's an 11 by 11. Okay. Now try to look at the side. And I'm going to try to take this three-dimensional object and flatten it out. So if we look at this rectangle, you can see it also has a height of 11, but its width is 10. The good news is once we get these, remember each side has to be the same, this side over here and this other side. So I can draw another rectangle over here. This also has to be 10 by 11. And because this red one out front, we have to have one of those in the back. And that one's going to be well, I don't know if I made it any better, but that's 11 by 11. Okay, then we have the top. Okay, so if you look here, the top and bottom doesn't look like it's a rectangle, but it actually is. It's a 10 by 11, and it doesn't matter where you put it. We're running out of room here. I'll just add it to our original one. And this is going to be 10 by 11. And then we have the bottom. Told you it was going to be a real rough picture. Which is also 10 by 11. So once we draw a net, we can find the area of each of these individual pieces. So 10 times 11 is 110. 10 times 11, well, let me stop for a second. If the top is 110, so is the bottom. It's also 10 by 11. If we go 11 by 11, the front face here, that's 121. That means the back has to be 121. Okay, focusing just on maybe the numbers I'm writing in black right now. The side here, 10 times 11 is 110, and then the other side has to be 110. Now, if you remember, we had the formula for rectangular prism. We had 2 times the length times the width. Well, I'm sorry, then 2 times the width times the height, and 2 times the length times the height, if I've remembered them. But anyway, what we can do is then we can say we have 2 110s. Yeah, I know we actually have 4, but we want to think of it in terms of top and bottom. Plus 2 front and backs, plus 2 sides. And again, surface area, how much wrapping paper, how much paint would we need to cover all the outsides? So if you type all of this in a calculator, it should equal 682 square meters. So I'm going to look at the same problem. This is the way to do it with a net, but we also want to do it with the formula. Okay? This is what we're going to be doing. But I'll tell you with the formula what we're actually doing is we're thinking about this section right here as one big rectangle. Oops, let me undo that one. And maybe make it a little bigger than that. Okay, and so we're thinking of it as one big rectangle, finding the area of this, and then adding on the area of the two bases. And that's where the formula comes from. When we say surface area equals lateral area plus 2 times the area of the bases. So we have the lateral area, we'll figure that out by adding up this side, multiplying with this side, and then 2 times the area of the bases. Okay, let's look at number 1 again, but this time using the formula. Remember what I said in class before. If you really focus on the formula and break down the pieces, doing this part becomes easy. So, again, looking at the same figure, it's the same one we did here using a net. Pick a side to be your base. I'm going to pick again this top part here, and whatever you pick to be the base, and I'm drawing a real poor picture of it here, bring it down and sketch just the two-dimensional part of that. So again, this is a 10 by 11 rectangle. I know it doesn't look like it, but it's okay. Now, find each of these pieces. Remember, surface area equals lateral area plus 2 times the area of the base. Use your notes. We define what lateral area is. We tell you what this capital B is. So, if I look at just this rectangle here, remember lateral area is the perimeter of the base, whatever side you choose to be the base, times the height. This part can get confusing, so use your notes. Remember, height is the distance between your bases. Perimeter. Okay, remember, try to think back to what perimeter means. Perimeter is the distance around the outside, and as I'm doing this, I see a mistake. This is 11 down here. Apologize for that. Okay. So our perimeter is the distance around the outside. In this case, 10 plus 11 plus 10 plus 11. And we multiply that by our height. Again, this height, ladies and gentlemen, is how far apart our two bases are. And if I pick this top to be my base, one of my bases, then the bottom has to be the other base. So how far apart are those two bases? They're 11. Now it's just typing things into a calculator. 10 plus 10 is 20, 11 plus 11 is 22. That works out to be 42 times 11, and 42 times 11 is 462. That's our lateral area. Now we also need to find out B. Now remember, this is a capital B. And from our notes, when you see a capital B, it means the area of the base. Since our base is a rectangle, we just take length times width. So in this situation, 10 times 11 or 11 times 10, doesn't matter. And we get 110. By taking the time to break up those two pieces, makes this formula really easy. Surface area equals our lateral area, which is 462, plus 2 times the area of our base, and the area of one of our bases is 110. Just typing that into a calculator, you should come up with 682, again, square meters, which is the answer we got when we did the net. So kind of look what we did here. This part here, the lateral area where we went 10, the perimeter of the base, 10 plus 11 plus 10 plus 11. See, that's right here, 10 plus 11 plus 10 plus 11. It's like we took that middle rectangle, one big rectangle, did length times width. So we added all this up and multiplied it by 11. That's what we did right here. And then, once we found the lateral area, we have the two bases. And the area of one is 110. That's what we did here. And that's where the surface area formula comes from for a rectangular prism. I'll be honest, this makes more sense to me, or it's easier for me to see. But this way of doing it, it helps us so we don't have to draw a net every single time.